Welcome to the fourth installment of Sambo for Mixed Martial Art. I'm Scott Sonnen, former U.S. National Sambo team coach and champion. In guard entries, we're going to be looking at one of the least utilized aspects of lower half positional fighting, and that is attacking what is the most frequent defense against the ground fighting game, the guard. Jiu-Jitsu is supreme at the wizardry of upper half fighting and on the ground, and they use the guard to an advantage, to slowly yoke out all of the energy from your body. However, the whole game of guard entries isn't passing the guard, but attacking it. His legs are there to your advantage. In guard entries, we're going to be exploring how to exploit and finalize submissions on the ground against various positions of the guard. One of your most frequent entries will be against your opponent in open guard, protecting against you in standing position. Let's assume that you had a contact release throw. You threw him down to the ground and he was able to break free. Or you're in a ground fight and he scoots away and you come up to one leg. So in this position, as he's, just scoot back just slightly. With this distance, we can try and do our cartwheel passes, we can leap through, we can kick through, we can punch through, or we can view these not as an obstacle but an opportunity. So the shin box entry to the open guard on the ground is just coming directly into his guard, which he seemingly wants us to do. As we come towards it, we're going to swing the rear leg immediately into the shin fold as we pull and lengthen this leg. We're not passing the guard, and if he places this knee out to protect, it gives us greater access. If I want to come around, he blocks by shooting his knee down. Knowing that, instead of going around, scoot the shin underneath and immediately enter into full saddle. So let's give this angle. So right from here, I could fake trying to pass the guard so that he drops his knee. Take this rear leg, shoot the shin through, and immediately start to wrap. Now, if you get to this position and you haven't hit shin fold, remember that's your primary objective. So don't try and clear the rear leg, and don't try and go for submission. You may get a fast lock, but maybe 1 out of 5 chance. Increase the percentage chance that you finalize and don't lose position, because from here, without shin fold protection, he could bump and ride through, and then you have to play guard. So if you get to this position, immediately reach through and create a false triangle so that you can start working to shin fold, blocking him down, then lacing in your slip knot, tucking your foot between his sits bones, and fire pulling down so that you can begin the lower half positional submission fighting. One last time. We're here. We may be faking. Let's fake going through. He blocks. We fake going to the side. As you lift and pull, shoot your shin through. Create a false triangle if you have to. You'll get slick at this where you're automatically winding around this, so that you can lock in your full saddle and go to attack him from a standing position. The thigh pass is a traditional guard pass. We're going to fake what looks like a thigh pass into a thigh ride, which is like the lower half body version of knee on belly. So first, can you lay down flat? Upper half, knee on belly. Lower half, knee on belly. If his knees are up, you're in thigh ride. So thigh ride position is one that you're going to use very often in working the lower half positional fighting game, especially from throws and from the standing position. Because as you enter and control this thigh, now you've temporarily isolated his hips. You're still exposed to sweeps. However, we can enter into shin fold from here. So the traditional thigh pass is for me to block down, pass over here, step around, and move to top position, to top half positional fighting. We're going to fake that thigh pass as we drop down here, and he blocks this in place so that we can't move, and we're going to pinch this thigh, come around to lock in. Now, in this position, we're in partial control. So he thinks he's in a better position because we're not passing the guard. We don't want to pass the guard. We want to attack this leg. Give you that from a different direction before we go. Any farther? Okay. So knee up. We pass over this thigh. He blocks the knee down. We shift and pinch this thigh together. Shift back. So now we're controlling this thigh by pinching our knees together. Our goal now is to attack this leg. So what we're going to do is shift forward and step across. Now we're ready to enter into side saddle. Let's spin this direction. Pass the thigh, pinch together, step over. Now we can lock in side saddle. What I suggest is that you utilize his body. Rather than falling back, drive your knee into his diaphragm so that it feels like you're going upper half. Then lock in your triangle and shift back into side saddle. Give you a different direction. Face that way. So, shift back. Pinch here. You've moved into thigh ride by dropping this knee down. You attack from open guard, move into his guard, drop over, pinch together. Now lean into his body. Shift this way. Lean into his body. Place your knee right into his respiration. Drive it in. Then step across. Lean forward again. Lock in your triangle. Grab and post at the knee. Slide back. Shift this way. And move your shin into hip fold. Now right now, I have some good contact with the nerves in his thigh. So as I squeeze the tourniquet on, he's already ready to go. When I move back, instead of trying to get the back brace, since I have this so tight from my entry, when you go back, roll and post that ankle back. As he tries to turn out of it, there's your heel hook. Squeeze on, and don't apply the heel hook very strong. Just squeeze here. That's where he's feeling the pain. When I squeeze my knees together. Not here. You're just holding this in place to finish him off from your thigh ride entry to the open guard. In the second variation of the thigh ride, instead of coming around to the side, stepping over, we're going to go inside. We're going to wrestle our leg around into the shin fold so that we can go to full saddle. That's going to require a little bit more pressure on the inside of his thigh to get his attention off the fact that we're shifting weight over onto his diaphragm. So from this open guard, we're going to pass and drive our knee to the outside and pin that down. Now we're immediately ready to go into thigh ride. But since we're wrestling this leg over, we're going to shift our weight over onto this thigh. So spin this way. Shift our weight over onto this thigh and keep his hips pinned down. Don't release this half thigh ride because you have this hip controlled by pinching the thigh down. So keep this in tight, pinch it inward so that you can bring this over and create a false triangle. Only now do you want to fall upward toward the shoulder, not over. Watch what happens if I fall over. Too much gap between his ribs and my knee. And that's going to be wiggle room for him. So I pin the thigh down. I shift my weight over. I'm going to lace this into the shin fold and move up. So scoot over a little. Up towards his shoulder when I roll down. Put your arms back down. Up towards the shoulder and then down to move into place. This is really tight, and I have this blocked off. So all you do is underhook, bump it across, and we can go into a foot lock from here. But before we do that, I want to review. I don't want you to miss the angle of falling into full saddle for this variation of the thigh ride. Drop over, pinch in, step across, false triangle, roll up towards his shoulder to end up in position. Clear the leg, slip knot, start applying the tourniquet. Now from here, you can start to apply pain because he's trapped here. To do that, kick this leg strong underneath his sits bones. And I'm going to give you a different angle in a second. But what I want you to see is that it's rotating his leg like this while the foot is trapped. So if I pinch here, lock in, kick underneath, there's the tap. It's a pretty painful hold because we're doing a thigh crush. There's also some knee shear, but it's mostly a thigh crush. So I'll give you a different angle. Spin all the way, half, 90 degrees. Right there. First, pin down, step across, false triangle, all the way up to the side. Pass the leg, slip knot. Now, as I bring this rustled in, I'm going to kick my heel towards the sits bones to cause the tap. Kick up and in. I'm going to try and minimize how much I do this. Up and in. And that's what's crushing his thigh. I can pin this down by laying my body into it and lengthening out even more. For guys with really thick legs, this hurts a lot. If you have an opponent with really narrow legs, it won't hurt as much and it'll give them a little bit of wiggle room, so you might want to go into the final variation, if you can lay down, which is spin here. Block across, pinch, shift your weight, shin to hip fold, false triangle, fall forward. Again, bump the leg, confirm, shift over like a crock roll and bump around so that you're on the opposite side. The variation I showed you was creating a foot lock. As you do the foot lock, do a side crunch, so an oblique crunch, to come in tight so that you're not moving this too far out where he can grab it. Keep it tight to your body to move in and finalize him. Circle around to the inside of his knee, figure of 4, take this into the inside of his shin to finish him in this variation. The rear shin swing attacks the seated guard, with our opponent scooting in to try and trap his legs around us. He always exposes one leg. And although you may think going to back to belly is a dangerous position, as long as you're hugging the knee, it's an entry that'll allow you to move immediately into rear saddle. So if he's on his seated guard, I have one leg pointed between his two open legs. See, he has a leg on the outside, a leg on the outside. It won't be as effective if I have a leg on the outside. So as he's, could you back up a little? As he's scooting in, you need to move to the inside. Now, it's from here that you enter in. Could you back up one more time? Here's the motion. Ball of foot, swing, with the shin parallel to the ground. You don't want to get it high up in the air. One more time. Ball of foot, swing. Move over his knee and sit down. Okay, so he enters in, seated guard. As soon as he makes that step, okay, go back again. Can you do that slowly? As soon as he makes that step, we're in position to lock in. Now remember your flow from the third installment You can immediately attack into the shin slice, the knee slice here with our forearm. You can add over top. If he bumps that off and blocks it, block it with your other leg. We can go for the double. If he kicks straight, we can go into a knee bar. So there's a flow for immediately happening from this shin swing. But you need to practice the individual movement. If you're already practicing your yoga specific for grappling, this is going to be one of your component exercises. So he comes in, as soon as he makes that long step, go ahead and do it more slowly, leg comes out, that's where you want to enter. As soon as he makes that step. Because now you don't have to lift your sits bones as high. If he's already in, tight, now look at the distance I have to jump on him. That's a little bit more challenging. You can still do it. Come back in. You can still do it here. Sit down on him. And I'm comfortable doing that, attacking with the rump. Grab a hold and create a false triangle to wind your knee down into his ribs to move into full saddle. So one last time, get your timing down. Jockey for position between the guard. Lock him in. And then whatever he does with his leg, if he moves in, you can go full saddle or reverse saddle. If you spin down, you can go full saddle. That rear shin swing is one of your bread and butter entries against the seated guard. The Washburn is a flying version of the rear shin swing, and it's most effective against the butt scoot. And by butt scoot, I mean a seated guard where one thigh is down. If he's in a seated guard with both feet down, both knees up, it's not as advisable. You might want to just stick to the rear shin swing. But if he places one thigh down because he wants to enter into half guard or immediately try and pass around to your back, he's exposing that thigh, and that's where the Washburn can happen. So just like the rear shin swing, as he's approaching, can back up for a second. As he's approaching, you're jockeying to place your foot between his knees. You don't want to be on the outside because it's quite a bit of distance to rotate. But if you position it here, as he approaches in, right there is when you hit it. So back up. As he comes in, you're going to come forward. So the basic motion, one more time. Stay there. The basic motion is, just like in the shin swing, here's the shin swing. On the Washburn, as soon as you come up to this foot, you're going to leap into position and attack him with your sits bones, right into his chest. If he's too low, it's going to go in his face, but he's going to move out of the way pretty fast. So as he comes in, you shift forward and sit right on top of him. That attack will put you right in position to hug his knee. Let's come a little bit closer. As he comes in, you launch into position. Now right now I'm in reverse saddle. I could lock right back into knee bar. It's pretty easy to move from here. I don't actually prefer doing knee bars close to him. I like them on the outside where he can't attack my arms. So let's do that again. Understand that this is you have to turn your back to him and you have to immediately focus on scooping his thigh. So you come up to your ball of foot, and that's where the rotation happens. Turn and leap. So attack him with your lower back to come into position. Lock this in. If you put it on near side, can we spin around? If you put this on near side, he can attack and work for control of my wrists. And that can start to break the knee bar, and he can start to jockey for position. If I put it on the far side, he's not going to get to that position before he taps out very fast. So, I'll give you a different perspective. You've just thrown your Washburn on. Come back up. You hit him in the chest and sit down on top of him. Slide into position. You've locked on your reverse saddle. Now, move this behind your head. That way, if he goes for wrist control to break this hold, You squeeze your thighs together rather than try and lock it on. If you get to this position, you've thrown into position with the washburn entry, and he bends his knee, remember, knee slice, right here. If his knees are flexible, step over. If he blocks that, pushes it off, and protects his own knee, step across, then he's in trouble, because crossing his own knee is going to expose him to more locks. Okay, I want to show you one quick variation. Turn this way. All right. In this position, from here, if he steps over, right, and blocks, hook here, extend beyond, and roll over. By twisting your leg long, you've added in your hamstring strength to rotate. So it looks more of like a more exotic hold, but you're still doing the double knee slice by rotating your long leg. Shift back. So you've thrown on your washburn. You move into the knee slice. He blocks over top. You hook his leg, and you rotate to your belly, keeping that hold. He's already toast. Pull this up in high, and he's going to finish pretty quickly. All of that's based upon your washburn entry against the scooting seated guard. The flying saddles attack the scissors guard. The scissors guard is a great entry into lower half positional fighting as well as upper half positional fighting. Right now, we're going to focus on how to attack the scissors guard. So with Ryan entering into me with scissors guard, his knee is protecting from me passing. What I'm going to be doing is focusing on flying through into position. I'll turn it slightly this way. So if this is the entry point for me going to full saddle, I need to load his body so that I can take weight off this leg. Otherwise, he's going to sweep me to the side, and that's what I don't want. So I have to load forward in order to remove structure from this foot and step it through. Now we're in position. But again, like before, shift this way. I have to move towards this shoulder so that I don't fall back and lose position on knee. If I just fall back now, I'm on the outside and I don't have any saddle control of his hips. I just have a leg triangle on his leg, and that's not effective. What I have to do to keep my knee in position and to fight my shin into hip fold is to move towards his shoulder. When you're practicing with your partner, be careful because you're going to end up in that thigh lock that I showed you before. Roll up towards the shoulder, clear his leg, and immediately come back into full saddle. So let's shift this way. That way. When we land in this position, he's already locked at the thigh. So this is very painful for him. So we'll do it from this position, and I'll show you. Scissors guard. Enter straight across. Lean forward to clear his back leg. I'm going to lock on my slip knot before I go down. As I come down, hook in. Here he's already locked at the thigh. So I'll review this again. We kick our shin into his sits bones. That's what locks down on his thigh. Squeeze up and lengthen out to finish the hold. I'll give you a rear view. From here, shift your weight to clear and free this leg. Lean forward. As you lean forward, this is the leg that clears his underside leg. I'm all ready to lock in the slip knot, fall down. As I get deep into his sits bones, I kick up and reach away. That's what's going to submit his thigh. It's a very painful hold, like being permanently tie kicked with this flying saddle. In the second variation of the flying saddle, you'll be bumping his top leg out of scissors guard so that you can go over into side saddle. So our partner's back in scissors guard, and let's assume that he's trying to sweep us over onto our side with this exterior leg, dumping us here to move upward. To prevent that, shift your weight and turn into his knee. So he's going to be constantly jockeying, but we're going to be working to prevent ourselves from being turned to the side. So we actually have to turn into the bottom leg. And that's going to be the game right here. Can you spin back? When you get position and structure temporarily, you're going to bump this top knee upward. You might come down into the thyroid like we did before, but the goal is to step all the way across and sit on the inside of his thigh. So as you sit through, kick your leg through, sit on top of that thigh, lock in your triangle before you go down to the mat. Shift back on this bottom leg. Create an ox jaw, an L with your hand, and drive this across so that you can wind your knee between his sits bones. Once you're in position, you're going to be arching back to move in to a basic Achilles. To avoid this, he'll try and extend this leg in order to belly out, go with him. I'm going to show you a different angle in a second. Keep your triangle and roll all the way to your belly. Notice how I'm posting. Now I could be evil and throw my body down to the mat. By doing that, I'm going to launch on top of him. But my goal isn't to hurt him, it's to submit him. The elegance comes from maintaining structure and arching the hips forward, which puts a lot of pressure here. So I'll give you a different angle on this. Let's spin this way. Scissors guard, move towards the knee, bump upwards, thigh right if you must, then shift your weight up to that shoulder and step across and sit down on the inside of his thigh. Once on the inside of his thigh, lock on your triangle, shift back, hook the knee, and drive your knee to the mat. Once you're here, if he fights this long, let's scoot this way. Move back that way. If he fights this leg long, don't resist, let him do it. When he bellies out, get into position, maintain your lock, but arch your hips forward. As you come underneath here, drive your hips down at the ground in an angle to finish him in a gravity Achilles submission. In your first half guard entry to lower half positional fighting, I'll show you how to lock down his legs so that you can control his hips and move into a very powerful knee slice. Let's begin with Ryan taking me into half guard. His leg between my legs. I'm going to establish underhooks. I'm going to step across, step underneath, and lock out. So once again, outside leg in, inside leg over, inside leg underneath his. And you'll notice how, if you look down at our legs, all of the space is removed between the three ankles. With all of the space removed, now, this may be a little bit painful, but the goal is, now I can control his hips. If there's any space in here, he can base out and resist this. I don't want that, so remove all the slop, then lift up. That removes his hips from my hips. Take both of your hands, lift up and pass your head underneath his armpit. Block here to prevent him coming back, because as long as your forearm's here, he can't turn into you yet. That's all the time that you need to reach, shoot, scoop, and hug. This is very painful. So I'm going to take it easy for a second. Our goal is to take this shin and rotate it down. The more that I rotate it down, the more it hides behind the belly and causes a calf crush. At the same time, I'm not trying to squeeze and lift with my arms, but drive both knees down. And I'm not going to do it very long because it's very painful for Ryan. Scoot your arm all the way beyond so you're at your elbow pit. I can't apply it very hard because it's so deep and so painful. So let's go all the way to the beginning. Let's give this angle. Immediately I go for underhooks. If you don't have underhooks yet, you can work for underhooks later. That's outside of the scope of this series. We can discuss that in a later series. But for now, let's look at the lower legs. Outside leg over, inside leg across, weaves underneath. Scoot and remove all of the space between the three ankles. Lift up and free the hips. Pop both shoulders and free your head. Block the armpit, spin across. Now we're down to the ankles. So I'm going to scoop the ankle, shoot my leg to drive that in as deep as I can. Re-grab. When you re-grab, shoot this arm to elbow pit depth so that you're not holding on it with fingers. Because if he kicks, then it's a strength battle. But if he kicks now, it's going to hurt his own knee. So don't submit yourself yet. Reach, re-grab, figure four, then both knees down. Squeeze both knees down and rotate your thigh out. What I mean by rotating your thigh out, knee down, to rotate that shin blade into the calf for your knee slice from half guard. In your first variation of the banana peel, it's much like the knee slice entry to half guard, from half guard. In this variation of the banana peel, you're going the opposite direction. Assuming that his head, he's trapping you the opposite direction, you're free to go, and that's fine. So if we're in half guard, remember again, from here, put your leg long. Okay. Outside, can you switch to the other side for a second? Remember, outside leg over, inside leg under, scoot underneath his laces and extend him. Okay, now we have underhooks, just again, but this time he's keeping his head to the outside, to the side of the trap leg. So we can't go down for our knee slice. That's fine. This is completely open. So again, lengthen up, remove the hips, pop the ribs and free your head. Block his armpit so that he can't turn back into you right away. He'll fight through it eventually. Take this hand, underhook the thigh, and move down. Now he's lost position completely. Let's scoot around. From here, I'm still blocking his armpit. I haven't broken him down yet. I still control his hip up. But now I'm going to switch to this leg and peel it across. Once I'm across, now, an inflexible people, I can submit them right here with the groin stretch. But let's assume, like Ryan is very flexible, he can base out up onto his forearms, get his knees in. That's fine. If his knees are in, bring your knees in. All I'm going to do is keep bumping straight in, bring my knee through to reverse settle on this side. Kick underneath, and finish him off with a knee bar. So let's do that again. Looks very complicated, but this is really a staple pass for you. When in half guard, anytime that you're stuck upstairs, you can move into half guard, even sacrifice full guard, go into half guard so that you can escape down if you want to. It's a very fast transition. So again, from the top, outside leg over, inside leg across, weaves underneath. Remove the space between the ankles. Establish double underhooks. Lift and remove his hips. Pop up, escape your head, block his shoulder, underhook that thigh. And if you're good at this, watch, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and do this slowly, but it's difficult to. Elevate all 3 points and rotate him rather than rotating your body. When you're about the same weight, you can do that. If you have perfect precision balance, fulcrum, you can do that to someone heavier. But against somebody that's really sandwiching you, they're heavy side down, they have good weighting, you can't do that. You have to move underneath them, and that's fine. From here, if you have an inflexible person, you can submit them right now. with the groin stretch, the banana split. Or if he is very flexible and brings his knees in, bring your knee in straight to a knee pinch. Reposition so that you're moving across to lace in reverse saddle. Now, from here you can lengthen out and get your knee bar just like we worked on the basic mechanics of installment 1 for your first banana peels pass. In your next variation of the banana peel, we'll be moving all the way through just like we did in the initial variation, but this time we're going to lace across and break him down by underhooking his far leg. Nasty, nasty, nasty. However, take your time. I don't want you to look at this as a technique that you attack. It depends on how he bases out. And I'll show you. Okay, we have our underhooks. Outside leg over, underside leg through our laces and underneath his laces, remove the space between all 3 ankles. As you pop up underneath and lift. This is an effective knee slice as it is. For those, especially with guys who have very tight knees, as you extend beyond that, I'm trying not to be brutal because this is just pain and I don't want to crush him. So as you extend beyond here, it can be very painful in and of itself, but pain is only as useful as you can cause movement. If you just submit him from here, you're probably going to get angry elbows into your face. So use the pain to cause motion. As you lift, block his elbow, get ready for the spin. We're going to do that one a lot more fluidly. Now, if you're agile, you can hook at this thigh and come up to a far side knee slicer. This is particularly nasty, like I said, but you don't always get it. It depends upon the flexibility of your opponent. I can get this usually on guys that have looser knees. On tighter knees, you're going to move into the next variation. So, one more time. You get to block. As you elevate and lift, spin. Feed this directly to you. Bring your ankles to you. Hook the thigh so that you can pass just enough to come up into place to get this opposite knee slicer. Or, if he has tight knees, I'll show you the next variation. If he has tight knees, from here, pass all the way through. His knees stay tight to his body because he's so tight, right, and inflexible. Move up underneath and shift around. So base out, bring this knee in. He bases out, bring this across. You're already hooking onto his thigh. Spin around. I'll give you a different angle in a second. You're already underhooking his thighs. So wrestle this leg into his saddle and base that out so he can't do that. With tight knees, they really want to base. So just kick that leg out. And he's already finished. I have position already. I'm driving the knee into his sits bones. Can you put your heel down so they can see? Drive your knee down into his sits bones to cause the lock. You can confirm it in place behind your head so that you don't slip off because of sweat. And then drive your hips right into his thigh. If you're in competition and you're wearing a supporter and a cup, this causes pain in and of itself. So let's do that again from a different angle. Okay, let's scoot back just a little. Right to here. You've got your lock down on his far leg. You bump him up, block, underhook, rotate. Throw it all the way across. And I like to rest on the inside of his thigh so that I don't have to hold my head up and look. Bring your heels together to reach for that far knee slicer. Move your knee down, and if he has inflexible knees, right, go all the way through. As he goes to parterre, go to turtle. As he goes to base out, pulling his knees in, move your knee into position. You scoot around this way. Now, from here, take a breath, keep your knee pinch. You're already underhooking this thigh. Step all the way across and feed it underneath. Keep that underhook and kick the knee out so that you force him down to the ground. Choke up, Drive your knee into his sits bones and drive your crotch all the way into the top of his thigh, hooking up behind your head to finish him off in a knee bar banana split from the banana peel variation. Now we'll look at attacking the half guard, lower half position fighting from the top. You have your opponent in half guard. Can you lay down here? And he has you in an outside leg triangle. I'm certain that at this point you can see what's coming. This is mostly a stall position because you can't move the top person. You don't have control of his hips. So if he's stalling here, pop yourself up to knee on belly, lower half, and scoop his heel. You want to make sure that this stays buried because as you move across, he's already in position. If you fall back, you have him in a really precarious position. Lace over top, lace over top. Let's do that again. This is a more classical Sambo move, but it's still effective for those that don't know it's coming. Knee up on the belly, so brace into his solar plexus. Knee on the belly, scoop that heel. Notice how I'm trying to come underneath his figure forward foot so he doesn't break it. If he does break it, that's fine. We'll move into a different pass, which I'll show you later. If you can maintain this triangle, you start pulling it back and you fall back. Immediately scoop yourself across. Now you have his own leg creating a knee slice. If you have the flexibility to come near leg, tuck that in. Then you can add in extra pressure for that most classical collision of knees in traditional Sambo. You finalize it by extending this leg underneath his belly to cause a double knee slice. Okay. One last time, let's do it from this angle, please. He has an outside leg triangle. Maybe he has you in underhooks. If he's protecting against that, drive your knee into his diaphragm to push him away. I'm going to do it softly on Ryan. To drive him away into his breath. Reach and scoop. Roll back. Maintain this position. Take your near leg across. Pull him up into your knee pit. Then step across. Pull that up into your knee pit. Double knee slice. Extend underneath his belly to finish him. The inside shrimp is where you're attacking lower half from the top of the half guard while he has you in lockdown. You're in half guard. Outside leg over, inside leg laces underneath, and he lifts you up. Okay, now this is where he's controlling your hips. To defeat this, you need to extend your knee, not fight against it. You can't fight by pulling your knee in. That's what the lockdown prevents. Extend your knee and wind your foot to the inside. As soon as you do that, bring your knee up high, underneath his thigh to pack this in. Because as you pop up, you're going to start winding around, getting that into shin fold so that you can go into full saddle. So before we go any farther, lock down full saddle. This time we'll bump this across and move down and attack. Let's do that again from this direction. He has you in lockdown. All right. You can't defeat this by pulling your knee in. That's what the lockdown prevents. So point your toes, rotate your leg internally, and extend your knee to release it. Slide up behind his thigh and pack that down immediately. Leg up, then in his shin fold. So let's slide this way. Once you're in position, then you can start to move, get that false triangle to move into full saddle. Fire pull down, and this time, keeping this in position, we can slide all the way up. And if you rake all the way up, you'll be able to cause some extra pain. So I'm going to be gentle with this, with Ryan. Rake all the way up, then apply your foot lock to finish him off. Attacking the half guard with the inside shrimp. In the basic ankle pick, you will be attacking a standing opponent while on your back. So from this position, as he approaches to come down to, say, a superior position, you're enticing him by dropping a leg. But your job is to engage lower half positional fighting. Of course, you can stay upstairs, right, and work your open guard game. But let's say you're adding this on. Rather than a substitute, you're adding this on to your guard game. If he passes a knee and steps beyond, you're not in any danger. You can just take this leg by wrapping up over top. So the basic ankle pick is lacing this leg over and popping the knee out to drop him all the way over into full saddle. The danger is in trying to pull his leg. So if he's up here and you pull the leg from here, that's going to strengthen his thigh. What you have to do is rotate the knee to the outside when you take him down. That way you can take him down rather quickly because this loads the hip. Rotating it outside takes him down very quickly. Just like when you try and do a single leg and you pry down, that strengthens the thigh by activating the muscle. So in the ankle pick, let's say he passes guard to one side, you immediately come all the way over. Rotate the knee to the outside to pop him over, grab a false triangle, pull that into side saddle, hook on, move into position to finish him after your ankle pick. Second variation of the ankle pick, affectionately named the dirt ball, is when he leans into your pick so that you can't lift that ankle off the ground. When he leans into the leg you have overlaced. You start in open and he passes one side, immediately wrap over top. Maybe grab a false triangle. But to stop that from happening, he leans into it, bakes it in tight, and drives his knee into your belly, here, so that he has knee on belly control and he's trying to squish your breath. So to avoid that, underhook him and elevate him up in the air and drop him back down. So you're taking this shin and you're driving it into his rib cage. It's not very painful, but he doesn't have any choice. So here he passes, wrap it immediately around. He presses it across to bake tight right here. Lift up and around and dump him over to hook on. Get your false triangle, pass the leg, and finish him from full saddle. In the butterfly pick, he's trying to remove the first lacing leg. While you're fighting to maintain control of that ankle, you pick his opposite knee with your free leg. I'll show you. So from here, he passes one side and you immediately wrap. But he stands up to go to remove this and you block him. While you're initially having him distracted here, take this shin, drive it on the inside of his far knee outward to rotate his knee outward that direction. While you press into his chest, holding it together. It picks him down very fast. Pull this into place to finish him off. We'll show you from a different angle. Watch the free leg. He passes beyond. You immediately wrap. He goes to pull it off. You act like you're going to fight it. But here's where you're attacking. This leg to the inside of this knee. Lever up on his rib cage. take him down hard, and go to finish him. Now, on an underside wrap, we'll do it one more time for Ryan. He passes, you wrap, he goes to block, you stop him, you fake, you go for the butterfly in the opposite leg, take him up in the air, roll down as you grab a hold to apply your bottom side Achilles tendon submission. In the pick switch, now as he's pulling that ankle off that you placed in as he's trying to pass guard, you switch legs and drive that through to move over to side saddle. I'll show you. He passes one side, you wrap as usual. As he goes to remove it, you let him remove it, see how it lifts his body up, and you shoot this through all in one motion to lock on side saddle and drive it down, because as he's lifting up, he helps you put it into position. Let's do it from a different angle. He comes in, passes, you reach across, you switch legs and hammer on the inside of his thigh to knock him over, and immediately start locking in that lace as he drops over. That's going to expose this. Now watch as you roll this conveyor belt style up your body to lock him out in a nice heel hook, knee down, side saddle. One last time. This direction. From here, passes, wrap. He goes to replace, you switch, hammer him down. Conveyor belt style, take your finger and drive that knee down, pull the heel up, and rotate your body to finish him off from the pick switch. Now we have our opponent in scissors guard. There are a lot of accesses to lower body positional fighting, lower half positional fighting from scissors guard. I'm going to show you the top two. If you practice these two, the rest will make sense, especially if you invest in the fifth installment, which is an exciting array of entries involving scissors guard and other approaches. So this time, if we're here, we move from half versus our standing opponent. Turn to our side. As he tries to pass, we move into scissors. Scissoring across, we're going to shoot to this hip with the top leg, like a pick switch. So now we need pressure on the knee. Pull down on the heel, keeping his ball of foot pinched. Down on the heel, up on the knee, to switch into side saddle. Now, I need to rotate down to get my knee back into position and all the way back, using that back brace for an ankle submission. So let's do that from a different angle. Let's say he passes one side, we're in half, we drop over, move the scissors. This hip's free, so take your top leg, maybe you kick him away, take your top leg and drive it through. As he's going down, you pull on the heel, drive the knee out to relace side saddle. And then we're going to come over and work on a back brace, ankle submission. I'll show you that from one last angle so you can see the submission. Full, half, scissors, shoot and pick through. Rotate the knee out. As you come back down, with your ankle submission, you're rolling this knee back. This elbow comes all the way back to drive the knee forward to finalize him in your ankle. I'll show you one close up on that submission. You come right here, just on the ground. Side saddle, knee down, elbow comes back. Find your back brace, so just take the back of your hand, place it in the small of your back. Rotate back, pinch your knees together to finish him in the ankle submission. final variation of the scissors entries into lower half positional fighting, you're going to practice inverting your body. You need to do a shoulder stand, as if you're resting your body up against the wall, resting on your shoulders and the back of your neck. Once you practice that, you'll know how to kick your hips forward. Practicing a yoga specific for grapplers or MMA is going to be absolutely critical so that you have a daily practice of working your body through the full range that you need to when working with your partner. So this time, full guard, he passes, drops to half. You switch down to scissors, but this time you're going to kick this leg up and over, across his head, over to his hip to lock him down. Now from here you can arch and nail on the knee bar. Now I'm breaking into parts. As you do this correctly, and I don't want to land this too hard on Ryan. I'm going to do this slowly and smoothly. As you do this correctly, you hit the knee bar before he really hits the ground. So the taps come quickly. It's all one motion. I'm going to try and do it as slow as I can. Full half. Scissors, inversion. Come all the way forward for your knee bar. One more time. Now, keeping a hold, each time Ryan's landing a little bit differently. Each time, the goal isn't to try and reposition his kneecap. The goal is to establish your rear saddle, your reverse saddle here, and lengthen out to apply the knee bar. So notice his kneecap is pointing this way. It's not like an arm bar. You don't have to have the elbow pointing down like you do in an arm bar. The knee is pointing wherever it needs to be. It can be completely at the side, and you can still apply the knee bar because it's about the shearing force at the knee. You need to lengthen the tissues out to hit it. The whole motion without your partner should look like lengthening your hips down to the ground so that you can do it fluidly for your final variation on scissors attacking a standing opponent into reverse saddle. Congratulations on finishing your fourth installment of Sambo for MMA. In your first installment, you went over all of the core positions, the key mechanics, and the core locks. In the second installment, you learned how to counter those so that you can strengthen the mechanics of the basic positions and learn how to pass and escape from them. In the third installment, you went on counters or recounters so that you start developing flow, dynamic flow under light resistance. Now we're looking at entries. How do we move into the lower half positional fighting game from a traditional relationship? In this aspect, attacking the guard and attacking with the guard into lower half positional fighting. Keep practicing these with your partner. You can do these under light resistance where your partner is changing their intent, moving from one direction or to another. Consult with a qualified coach in your area so that you can get input on, is this valid, is this solid, is this variation going to work against this type of opponent? That kind of feedback will be crucial. And if there isn't a qualified coach nearby you, at least drop by our open forum so that you can ask questions to the coaches and find out where workshops are nearby to you at www.rmaxinternational.com. That's rmaxinternational.com. See you at the next workshop.